and welcome back to Otaku No Video. As always, thank you very much for joining me for my review today of Perfect Blue, Satoshi Kon's first original film. Now, normally in these reviews, I talk about each individual element and sort of break it out. This film is something that really works as a combination of elements. No one individual element really stands out, partly because of what kind of story it's telling. So, well, Perfect Blue is basically a psychological thriller. And interestingly, it is based on a novel, although very loosely based, went a lot of different directions based on the work by Satoshi Kon and another anime screenwriter who adapted it very strongly to their own kind of story. It was originally going to be a live-action film, actually, based on this novel. And unfortunately, the production company was damaged during the Great Kobe earthquake of 1995, and so the budget got slashed and things and so forth, and so they only had money for an anime release as opposed to a live-action release. And that tells you how cheap anime is in Japan, especially back in the late 90s, that it was cheaper to have artists hand draw this frame by frame than to take a camera and film people. But they ended up animating it as though it was live action in a lot of ways. So all the special effects look like the kind of things you could achieve on camera in a Japanese live action film. Moreover, the color palette is quite unusual. Most anime is bright and colorful. Think of Evangelion, lots of very bright colors, even though the show itself is dark. Perfect Blue has a much more muted color palette. It can be very vibrant at times, but that is vibrant in ways that you would get on film. It actually looks visually much like a medium to low budget Japanese live action film would look. You know, a lot of the scenery looks like, okay, we have to find some apartment we can shoot at. So we're going to take this, this person's apartment, we're going to put some lights in the room just out of range of the camera and film there. It has that feel to it, which makes it look unlike most anime. And it's one of the reasons why it got so much attention when it first came out. Also, Katsuhiro Otomo helped to promote it, partly because Kon helped on Otomo's earlier film, Memories. So he got it on a lot of the film festival circuit. And a lot of folks were, what, this is anime? What? It's also remarkable for the basic premise. Namely, it's about a Japanese pop idol, a girl, part of a group, and she gets a role in a drama, small role, and she decides to pursue an acting career, gives up her pop idol role and pursue acting. And unfortunately, this ticks off some of her fans, and she starts getting death threats and things like that because of how she's changing. And things start getting weird. Moreover, and I'm not going to get into spoilers here, but something happens to her. She decides to go through a scene that ends up being very traumatic for her, and she starts losing a grip on the difference between fantasy and reality, especially because she's working as an actress and she hasn't really done much acting before. And it's a very odd experience that you're doing something that's not you, but you're doing it with all these other people, and then someone yells cut and you have to kind of stop doing that and do it again. It's just, it is very weird. Especially because in the world of live action drama and such, you're going partway through something, you have to stop and then wait for a few moments while somebody switches the light around and changes the camera, and then you move on. Very weird. So things start getting strange for her, especially as the reaction from her fans starts getting more intense, and no more plot there to spoil from me. But a lot of stuff happens, and she gets very confused. And so the film spends a lot of time deliberately playing with this notion of what is fantasy and what is reality, especially within this animated film. So, for example, there's a moment where you cut to you see the main character, Mima, and she's in an outside market talking to people, and she's kind of dressed differently than she's normally dressed. And then she talks to somebody, and she says, she's talking to them like she really knows them, but you don't know this character before. And somebody yells cut, and the camera kind of pulls back, and you realize she's acting a scene in the drama, in the anime film. So it's you go in thinking, okay, this is another scene in the movie I'm watching. It's actually a scene in the drama she's filming, And you really get to appreciate how strange that would be, especially when her personal life gets very chaotic. And so the film plays around with this a lot. And the great thing being animation, a character can hallucinate, and because that hallucination is drawn the same way as everything else, it is completely integrated into the scene. Someone can float over the floor, someone can pass through somebody else, and because it's all drawn, because it's all, made the same way, it doesn't look like a special effect. And that's really key to the understanding of the attraction of Perfect Blue. Why folks really got into Perfect Blue when it first came out, because it's really playing with its medium as well as the story. And the story and the medium really merge perfectly in this story. Brilliant idea for this adaptation. And Kon does such an amazing job of doing it, particularly because it's very Hitchcockian. And Hitchcock often dealt with these questions. If you've ever seen Vertigo, and things like Psycho and so forth, what is really going on here? That is really a testament to how well Satoshi Kon understood what he was doing and was able to make a film that accomplished that. I mean, there's a lot going on in the movie in terms of plot and just what you're seeing, and also in terms of the various levels of meaning and the various levels of questioning that is going on there. Especially because you can watch this multiple times to kind of unravel what's actually going on and what you're seeing. Now, that's not to say that the film is utterly confusing. It's one of the really tough things about this, is how do you tell a story where the main character is an unreliable narrator, as they call it. You don't know if what she's seeing is exactly real, without making the viewer so confused. It's like, well, I don't know what I'm seeing. I could be seeing the rest of this movie could be a hallucination. He doesn't go that far. And it's very impressive to watch a director be able to keep you engaged in this story and show you what you think is really going on while still playing with these things here and there throughout the movie. It's very deftly done. I'm planning on doing another video where I go into more detail about exactly how this is done without giving away too many spoilers, but I really want to talk to you all and explain some of the real depth behind Perfect Blue. It is a very impressive work, and it's worth analyzing in more detail. And it has been analyzed by scholars and so forth, so that's cool. So that's Perfect Blue, and it's definitely a remarkable film of psychological horror and of psychological thriller material, and horror as well. It's serious. There's very little comedy. There's no romance. It's, bad things happening to good people. And it's just fascinating to watch and to see and to challenge your thinking about how things work. If you want to talk more about this, please stop by my website at otakunovideo.net, where I have forums, chat room, all sorts of great ways to talk to people about anime and manga, especially mentally challenging ones like this. I hope to see you there. Thanks. Take care.